This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. An Egyptian-brokered ceasefire deal between the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group and Israel has been announced. AP correspondent Karen Chamas reports.
A leader of the Islamic Jihad militant group in Gaza confirmed the deal had been made. However, rocket fire persisted after the deadline, leaving the deal in question. Shortly before the truce was to take hold, Israel reported a heavy burst of Palestinian rocket fire towards southern and central Israel, while Israel said it was striking targets inside Gaza. After the deadline, Israel reported additional rocket fire, and Israeli media said warplanes were responding. I'm Karen Chamas.
Turks will vote on Sunday in one of the most consequential elections in modern Turkey's 100-year history, which could unseat President Tayyip Erdogan after 20 years in power and halt his government's increasingly authoritarian path. The vote will decide not only who leads Turkey, a NATO member country of 85 million, but also how does government, where the economy is headed amid a deep cost of living crisis and the shape of its foreign policy, which has taken unpredictable turns. The European Union must speed up the supply of ammunition to Ukraine, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said on Saturday.
In the Bakhmut area, where fighting continues, Ukraine needs about 1,000 shots of artillery per day. 1,000 per day just in Bakhmut.
Borrell said Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba had told his EU counterparts at a meeting in Stockholm that Kyiv needed more support to defend itself against Russia's invasion. Follow us on the VOA mobile app. This is VOA News. Somalia's army told state media Saturday its forces killed 44 al-Shabaab militants a week after killing 67 militants. Ahmed Mohammed reports from Mogadishu.
Somali security forces have been conducting major operations against al-Shabaab since the start of the campaign last July. The government said in April that more than 3,000 al-Shabaab fighters have been killed since the start of the military campaign, which has been supported by troops from Djibouti, Ethiopia and Kenya, since those countries agreed in January to conduct joint military operations against al-Shabaab strongholds. Ahmed Mohammed for VOA News, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held talks at the Vatican on Saturday with Pope Francis, who said in late April the Holy See was involved in a peace mission to end the war with Russia. Zelensky, who was visiting Rome for the first time since war began, said he spoke with the Pope for about 40 minutes. At the start of the war, the Pope tried to take a balanced approach in hopes of being a mediator, but later began forcefully condemning Russia's actions, comparing them to some of the worst crimes against Ukraine during the Soviet era. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has landed in Berlin, according to a post on his Twitter feed, as the leader seeks to shore up support from key allies against Russia's invasion. The Ukrainian leader last visited Germany for the Munich Security Council in February last year, just before the war broke out. Germany, which is Europe's largest economy, faced criticism at the start of the war for what some called a hesitant response, but it has become one of Ukraine's biggest providers of financial and military assistance, ahead of other European powers like France. In the U.S. southeastern state of North Carolina, Democratic Governor Roy Cooper on Saturday vetoed a bill that would ban most abortions after 12 weeks. A move the Republican supermajority in the state legislature is expected to quickly override, allowing the bill to become law. Reuters correspondent Angela Johnston reports.
North Carolina's Democratic Governor Roy Cooper signed paperwork at a rally on Saturday, vetoing a bill banning most abortions after 12 weeks.
We now have a veto!
But the state legislature's Republican supermajority is expected to quickly override it. That would allow the bill to become law and dramatically narrow the current 20-week window for most procedures.
That's Reuters correspondent Angela Johnston. Find more on our website, voanews.com. I'm Joe Ramsey. This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says he could still win the country's presidential election, but would respect the nation's decision if the race went to a runoff vote in 2 weeks. Speaking to supporters in Ankara, where he has given previous victory speeches during his 2 decades in power, Erdogan said the unofficial results from Sunday's election were still unclear, but claimed he was in the clear lead. Adding, quote, "We don't know yet if the elections ended in the first round. If our nation has chosen for a second round, that is also welcome." He said it early Monday, noting that votes from Turkish citizens living abroad still need to be tallied. Germany has pledged new military aid to Ukraine as it welcomed the Ukrainian president to Berlin on Sunday. VOA's Arash Abasadi has more.
Sunday in Berlin, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky with military honors in Zelensky's first visit since the start of the war. The meeting follows Germany's announcement Saturday of a new package of military aid nearly matching all previous aid to date. The German government pledged nearly $3 billion of new support, including anti-aircraft systems, ammunition, and its sought-after Leopard tanks. Arash Erbasadi, VOA News.
Calm returned to Gaza Sunday as a fragile ceasefire largely held, leaving Palestinians and Israelis to count the cost of 5 days of cross-border fire that killed dozens. The fighting broke out Tuesday with Israeli strikes on the Islamic Jihad militant group. It ceased late Saturday following days of truce talks led by Egypt. Find more on our website, voanews.com, or follow us on the VOA mobile app. This is VOA News. Some 400,000 people were evacuated in Myanmar and low-lying neighboring Bangladesh ahead of one of the strongest storms to hit the region in years. Reuters correspondent Olivia Chan reports.
Storm surges whipped up by a powerful cyclone inundated the Myanmar port city of Sittwe on Sunday. Across Rakhine State and the northwest of the country, about 6 million people were already in need of humanitarian assistance. In Bangladesh, authorities moved around 300,000 people to safer areas before the storm hit. More than 1 million Rohingya refugees, 500,000 children among them, live in sprawling camps prone to flooding and landslides after having fled a military-led crackdown in Myanmar in 2017.
Reuters correspondent Olivia Chan. A new mobile app is allowing 1,000 would-be migrants per day to make an appointment to apply for asylum in the United States. AP correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says they're encouraging migrants to use the legal pathway toward entry, and that's helping to reduce the flood of migrants coming in at the southern border.
Approximately 50% drop.
He spoke on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos.
We have to incentivize the use of the lawful pathways.
But Texas Republican Congressman Mike McCall says too many migrants are being allowed in without a hearing date.
Whether they have legitimate claims or not, they're released into our society, and then you have 5 million people without any legal status.
The Biden administration says it will penalize those who try to seek asylum without going through the proper channels. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The 10 people killed and 3 injured in a racist attack at a Buffalo, New York supermarket 1 year ago were remembered in a memorial service. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports.
A bell tolled 13 times for them, and their names were read outside Tops Supermarket, where victims' families and others, including Governor Kathy Hochul, who noted the anniversary fell on Mother's Day.
The cruel irony behind the fact that it is a day we celebrate a life that comes into this world, making someone a mother, is also a day we're here to think about those who are no longer with us.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer noted how the families pushed through the pain to get gun laws passed.
We couldn't do it until the families came down and looked those legislators in the eye.
Audio courtesy WKBW, the gunman pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. Julie Walker, New York.
Follow us on the VOA mobile app. I'm Joe Ramsey.